Atlantis and the International Space Station passing near the southwest coast of Australia. 118 feet separating Atlantis from the International Space Station. Once again, this view from the International Space Station looking down at the orbiter docking system. The ring extended, everything in readiness for contact and capture. Here in the shuttle flight control room, the rendezvous officer has reported that the crew is now just inside 100 feet. Commander Chris Ferguson flying a bit slower, deliberately, than the clock would indicate. So we're about 8 minutes behind the nominal docking time. We'll see whether or not we can make up any of that. It's not required, of course. And we'll see whether or not any flyout is required to more precisely align the two docking mechanisms, or whether Ferguson's flying is precisely on track for a precise alignment of those two docking mechanisms. Again, now 89 feet separating the two vehicles. This has been a textbook rendezvous so far for Atlantis' astronauts. No issues throughout the course of the morning. Now 75 feet separating the two spacecraft. Very quiet here in the shuttle flight control room. Flight controllers concentrating on this final approach, the final few feet for docking. As you can see from this graphic generated by real-time data, Chris Ferguson flying a precise path down the cone, the corridor that would lead to a docking a short time from now, just 50 feet separating Atlantis from the International Space Station. Atlantis nearing its destination at a glacial rate of about 1/10 of a foot per second. "34 feet separating the two spacecraft, both flying in formation south of New Zealand.
Houston and Station Atlantis on the big loop. We don't see a flyout. We're initiating final approach.
Houston copies.
Station copies.
Pilot Doug Hurley informing both station and shuttle flight control rooms that no flyout is required, meaning no additional alignment required. Commander Chris Ferguson is dead spot on with the two docking mechanisms perfectly aligned, 24 feet separating the two spacecraft, pressing in for final approach and docking. Now inside 20 feet. 15 feet. Still precisely aligned. Post-contact thrust is armed. 10 feet away. Good, steady approach. Six feet separating Atlantis from the International Space Station, standing by for contact and capture. Contact, docking confirmed. Capture confirmed at 10:07 a.m. Central Time.
Houston, Station Atlantis, capture confirmed, and we see free drift.
Station Atlantis, Houston, station free drift is confirmed.
Pilot Doug Hurley confirms the arrival of Atlantis.
Free drift.
The station now in free drift. The two docking mechanisms will have an opportunity to dampen out.
Atlantis arriving. Welcome to the International Space Station for the last time. That's great to be here, station. We'll see you shortly.
Flight engineer Ron Guerin greeting Commander Chris Ferguson and his crew.
We think that pedal position 2 is just a bit flip. Do you agree?
Atlantis, we do concur. You go for step 3.
Okay, come step 3.
Atlantis, which began the era of international cooperation in space with the first shuttle docking to the Mir space station, comes full circle. The space shuttle has arrived at the International Space Station for the final time. Docking again occurring at 10:07 a.m. Central Time, as Atlantis and the International Space Station flew 240 statute miles over the Pacific Ocean east of Christchurch, New Zealand.
Houston, we think we're ready for step 4.
Stand by, still watching.
Now waiting for the relative motion of the two docking mechanisms to dampen out against one another from the forces of contact and capture. That will initiate hooks and latches and the ultimate retraction of the docking mechanism to form a hard mate between Atlantis and the International Space Station. For the 37th time, a space shuttle docks to the International Space Station.
30 seconds, Houston. What do you think?
Atlantis, you go for step 4 on the docking sequence cue card.
Go for step 4. Houston, we think we're ready for step 6.
Atlantis, you are go for step 6.
Here we go. Houston, we think we're ready for step 8 if you agree.
Houston concurs, go for step 8.
The mechanical systems officer reports that the orbiter docking system's ring is retracting as planned. A very gentle approach and docking by Atlantis, no issues. We'll soon have a hard mate between Atlantis and the International Space Station for the 12th and final time for its career, this being the 37th docking of a space shuttle to the International Space Station. Commander Chris Ferguson flew a flawless rendezvous, linking up to the International Space Station right on time at 10:07 a.m. Central Time. Everything going very smoothly with the ring retraction that essentially pulls the International Space Station into a hard mate with Atlantis. As you can see from these views from cameras on the truss of the International Space Station, as the two vehicles fly 240 statute miles above the Pacific, moving from southwest to northeast and in orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. And you're looking at what will be the subject of tomorrow's activity, the Raffaello Multipurpose Logistics Module, containing some 4.5 tons of supplies to keep the space station fortified for the next year in the wake of the retirement of the space shuttle. Ring retraction is complete. We see hooks and latches now engaging. Approaching the equator, 1.25 million pounds of space hardware hooked up to one another for the final time. The Space Shuttle Atlantis in the process of mechanically latching itself to the International Space Station for a hard mate. That will set the stage for the start of leak checks on either side of the docking interface between Atlantis and pressurized mating adapter number 2 that will lead to the opening of the hatches between the two vehicles about 2 hours from now is what is predicted, as the 10 crew members will have their first opportunity to greet one another, have a safety briefing, conduct robotics to transfer.
All hooks closed. We're going to step 14.
Houston concurs.
And in just 11 minutes, all hooks and latches closed. We have a hard mate between Atlantis and the International Space Station, and a flawless operation performed by the crew to bring Atlantis to its destination to deliver critical supplies for the International Space Station. Again, once the hatches are open in about 2 hours, a safety briefing will be conducted by Station Commander Andrei Barasenka as he and his Expedition 28 crewmates greet Atlantis' astronauts, and then they get down to business as Chris Ferguson and Doug Hurley will be back at the aft flight deck of Atlantis to operate the shuttle's robotic arm and to accept a handoff of the orbiter boom sensor system that will be unberthed from the starboard sill of Atlantis' payload bay by Ron Garan and Satoshi Furukawa, who will be operating the Canadarm2 from the station side. They will lift the orbiter boom sensor system out of its moorings, hand it off to the shuttle robotic arm, because the shuttle robotic arm now cannot reach around the orbiter docking system from the mating with pressurized mating adapter number 2.
Houston, hit it at block 22 Alpha. Show ourselves done with the sequence key card.
Atlantis, we copy. No deltas for 22 Alpha. Over on the flight plan, the post-docking hatch leak check will be done by MCC. And lest it go unsaid, we thought that was just a beautiful and perfectly executed rendezvous and docking.
Hey, Stevie Ray, I'll tell you, kudos to our rendezvous team, Nick Adosi and his folks. We were well trained. Alan Fox and Steve Gauvin, thank you very much, and we'll see our station folks soon.
Thank you, Virgie.
Thanks to the rendezvous team and Nick Diosi, the lead rendezvous officer, for this final docking of a space shuttle to the International Space Station from Commander Chris Ferguson, as he and his crewmates continue to work through their post-docking procedures now that we are mechanically latched in a hard mate to the International Space Station. Leak checks will commence, and that will lead to the opening of the hatches between the two vehicles around 12:19 p.m. today.
Go ahead. Houston, Block 22, are you ready for LVLH on the DAP?
Atlantis, we are ready for LVLH.